We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
This Turning Point conference, the were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and you know, the cigar.
I think it's important that every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican, speak up against these stickers, against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it, because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said it's
on television.
You know, just let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
What happens when America's most powerful daytime talk show gets slapped with a $100 million lawsuit, and then Joe Rogan, the most listened-to man on Earth, decides to weigh in? This isn't just TV drama. This is courtroom warfare, cultural chaos, and the kind of takedown that makes even Hollywood nervous. Because when lawsuits start flying and Rogan starts roasting, no one walks away untouched. And trust me, this fight isn't just about The View. It's about who controls the conversation in America.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to
It started like any other day on The View, a hot-button segment, a few sharp comments, and a usual applause from a studio audience trained to clap on cue. But this time, Whoopi Goldberg and her co-hosts made a mistake, a big one. In their scramble to throw shade at conservatives, they accused Turning Point USA, a student organization, of being tied to extremist hate groups. The timing couldn't have been worse. Thousands of high school and college students had just gathered for a TPUSA conference. They weren't celebrities, politicians, or media figures. They were kids. And suddenly, they were being painted with one of the ugliest labels in America. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, wasn't having it. He saw it more than just a smear. To him, it was a direct attack on 5,000 students, many of them teenagers, now living with a stain on their reputation because of something said on national TV. Most people in his position might fire off a tweet, demand an apology, maybe call for a boycott. But Kirk didn't just push back. He went nuclear. A $100 million lawsuit against ABC, the network behind The View. That number wasn't chosen at random. It wasn't symbolic. It was designed to rattle the media machine to its core.
The View has to be, if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing there.
Just go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do.
And just when the lawsuit started making headlines, Joe Rogan entered the chat. If you know anything about Rogan, you know he doesn't play by the polite rules of Table News. He doesn't couch his words in legal jargon. He doesn't hide behind PR statements. He just says what millions of people are already thinking, but out loud into the most powerful podcast mic on the planet. Rogan didn't just criticize The View, he torched them. He mocked the intelligence of the hosts, shredded the hypocrisy, and laughed at the idea that they could throw accusations with impunity. His words weren't careful, they were raw, blunt, and brutal. And that's exactly why they hit so hard. Because here's the truth, The View might average a few million viewers on daytime TV, but Rogan, his reach dwarfs theirs. His clips go viral on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. His influence seeps into gyms, car rides, workplaces, places where The View doesn't exist. When Rogan drops a bomb, it doesn't just trend, it echoes. For millions of viewers sick of the media's double standards, Rogan's takedown felt like a cultural exorcism. Finally, someone with enough clout to call out the hypocrisy without fear of being canceled. Normally, The View knows how to handle controversy. The formula is simple. Toss out a provocative claim, stir outrage, then pivot to a commercial break. By the time they come back, the topic's shifted, and the cycle continues. But not this time. You can't commercial break your way out of a $100 million lawsuit. And you definitely can't giggle your way through being roasted by the biggest podcaster alive. Instead of fighting back, The View went quiet. No fiery rebuttal, no dedicated segment, just silence and awkward pivots to safer, softer topics. But silence speaks volumes, and the internet noticed. Memes exploded, comment sections lit up. People started asking the question The View couldn't answer. If you're so sure you're right, why are you so afraid to talk about it? Now, some might say, it's just a lawsuit, it'll settle, it'll fade away. But here's why this one is different. Lawsuits aren't just about winning or losing, they're about discovery. That's the process where lawyers dig into private emails, memos, internal chats. Every document, every conversation, every off-the-record remark could be dragged into daylight. Think about that. Every snarky email between producers, every memo from ABC executives, every internal note about how they frame narratives. If this case goes forward, it won't just be about what was said on TV. It'll be about what's been said behind closed doors for years. That's not just embarrassing, it's potentially career-ending. So while The View might think they're above accountability, the truth is they could be just one subpoena away from having their entire playbook exposed. Here's where Rogan becomes more than just a commentator. He's the everyman's microphone. He's not a lawyer, he's not a politician. But when he speaks, people listen, not because he's polished, but because he's blunt. And that bluntness cuts deeper than any lawsuit. Some argue Rogan has become a gateway for millions of young men who once identified as liberal, but now question everything they were taught by legacy media. He interviews outsiders, he challenges the narrative, he puts taboo questions on the table. And whether you love him or hate him, his influence is undeniable. That's why his roast of The View mattered so much. It wasn't just a joke, it was a cultural moment, a massive platform saying, these people aren't just wrong, they're ridiculous. And when Rogan laughs, the internet laughs with him. For decades, shows like The View operated without challenge. They could say almost anything, frame narratives however they wanted, and rarely face pushback. The audience was theirs. The narrative was theirs. But now, the armor is cracking. Independent voices are louder, freer, and more trusted than polished network panels. When someone like Charlie Kirk has the resources to sue, and someone like Joe Rogan has the reach to mock, the monopoly collapses. The lawsuit is more than legal, it's symbolic. It's saying the old rules don't apply anymore. And that's why this story matters. It's not just The View versus Kirk. It's The View versus a shifting media landscape that no longer plays by their rules. But let's talk about what The View didn't do. They didn't run a segment explaining their side. They didn't fight back with data. They didn't challenge Kirk head-on. Instead, they pivoted to safe, non-controversial chatter, hoping the storm would pass. But that silence, it was deafening. Because when a show builds its brand on courageous conversation, but suddenly goes mute when they're in the hot seat, it's not just hypocrisy, it's an admission. An admission that they're not prepared to fight when someone finally pushes back. And the internet saw it instantly. Clips of Rogan's roast went viral, while The View's awkward pivots became memes. The contrast was brutal, one side laughing, the other hiding.
Zoom out for a second. This isn't just about Kirk, or Rogan, or even The View. This is about the collapse of one-way outrage culture. For years, mainstream media could smear, mock, and condemn with zero accountability. But those days are ending. Independent platforms are louder, social media receipts live forever, and lawsuits like Kirk's prove there are consequences for playing dirty. The View may survive this scandal. They may even settle the lawsuit quietly, but their credibility, that's already gone. Because now millions see them not as fearless commentators, but as fragile elites who crumble the second they're challenged.
So here we are, America's most recognizable daytime talk show backed into a corner. On one side, a $100 million legal grenade. On the other, the most powerful podcaster alive, gleefully pouring salt into the wound. The View always thought they were untouchable, but now they're bleeding. And here's the real kicker. This isn't ending with them, because once the precedent is set, once lawsuits and viral takedowns prove the media can be held accountable, the floodgates open, others will follow, and legacy TV will never be the same. So, the only question left is, who's next?